Low carb o yung pagpapababa ng ating pagkain ng carbohydrates in a day, that is 50 grams or less. For keto, it's 20 grams of carbohydrates or less per day. Marami na yung mga naka-experience ng healing, marami na nag-improve yung kanilang health status when they started low carb. And then, marami na rin, I think in millions na, even just in the Philippines, yung mga nakakita mismo sa kanilang sarili and they experience it themselves kung gaano kagaling yung low carb when it comes to improving our health. However, marami pa rin mga nagsasabi na nakakasama ito sa katawan. So these are the 12 myths o yung mga claims ng mga iba na hindi pa nga nakatry ng low carb, or those who did low carb but they did it the wrong way. Hindi tama yung kanilang pagkakagawa and they experience these negative effects at akala nila ito ay masama na para sa kanilang kalusugan. So we will go through it one by one. This is actually from a compilation by Low Carb Action. So iisa-isahin natin and kindly share this since this is surely filtered post kasi nilagay natin lahat ng ating resources dyan when it comes to the research papers backing up these claims. So I hope you can help our advocacy spread this to as many people as possible para sila maging aware din, and you can help by sharing this to your timeline, to your friends, to your messenger para malaman ito ng lahat. And to start, una, low carb is bad for athletes. Hindi daw pwedeng mag-low carb yung mga atleta. This is not true. In fact, meron ng mga elite marathoners, triathlon competitors, CrossFit athletes, gymnasts, at high intensity performing athletes and those that are doing interval exercises na nakapag-improve ng kanilang body composition. They improve their body composition by lowering their body fats, kahit pa very muscular na sila, yung kanilang body fat percentage is actually way higher nung naka-high carb sila as compared to low carb. Bakit? Because even if you are exercising, but if you are always eating high carb, yes, you are building up muscles, but it's inevitable that you'll also build up fats. And when they started low carb, nakita nga nila na their performance is better, mas naging sustainable yung kanilang pag-exercise, and they can sustain sobrang haba na physical activity like a marathon na hindi sila nagre-refuel agad-agad. Hindi sila nangangailangan ng mga energy bars because they are already fueling from fats, from ketones. And when we are fueling from ketones, hindi tayo mayat-maya nagugutom. In fact, like for me now, it's almost 11 o'clock and hindi pa tayo kumakain. We are already at our going 16 hours of fasting and it's our normal. And for you, I'm sure marami na din na nagbe-breakfast at 12 noon, at 2 p.m. And when you have physical activity, like if you are an athlete, that can still be the same because source of energy is not really just dependent on glucose. Mas sustainable for long-term use of energy yung fats coming from ketones and fatty acids, not on glucose alone. If you will be fueling on glucose, mayat maya kang magugutom. So every 2 hours, minsan nga 1 hour lang, parang gusto mo na naman kumain ulit. And I know you have experienced that, especially for those na naka-try na mag-low carb, but then when they lost the weight at akala nila, since it's just easy, they can just go back and forth. Is when they already started eating carbs again, yung kanilang craving, yung kanilang addiction, parang na-trigger when it comes to rice and sweets. So that's why as much as possible, even if you are already healed, even if you are already at the top of your health, you might want to maintain that optimum health by still staying low carb. And it goes the same way with athletes. Kaya nga lang, I understand na marami yung hesitant dito because yung pinaka-foundation ng athletes, it's carbo loading. Kasi nga, yung glycogen, mas mabilis mawala, mabilis siyang ma-breakdown into glucose. And that is effective if you want to stay on glucose metabolism forever. But if you want to change fuel source, which is the fuel source na mas malinis, mas mababa yung generate na reactive oxygen species, yun yung nakaka-lead into mga inflammation sa ating katawan, then you might want to shift into a cleaner source of energy. Kung sa ating pang sasakyan, coming from diesel, maybe you want to go into a high-end na gasoline wherein mas malinis or even much better, electric, yung wala talagang waste product. And that is how low carb nutrition, when you are fueling on fats, can do to your body. So, number 2 would be low carb causes fatigue and flu-like symptoms. So, sabi nila, kapag daw ng low carb ka, manghihina ka, wala kang energy, at para kang merong flu, yung masakit yung katawan, parating parang may sakit ng ulo, medyo naghihina. But those are usually on the first 3 days when you are still adjusting from high carb to low carb. Nagkakaroon ng sugar withdrawal. 'Di ba? Saan natin na usually naririnig yung term na withdrawal, 'di ba? In alcohol or in drug withdrawal. So these are addictive na mga substances. And it's actually the same when it comes to glucose. It's also very highly addictive. That's why during the first 3 days, your body, your brain, parang gagawin niya talaga ang lahat for you to give in sa pagkain ng carbs ulit. But if you have the right mindset, you have the right preparation, you'll know na when you take the necessary steps like electrolytes, increasing your salt intake to begin with as you start your low carb journey, and being mindful sa iyong nararamdaman, these low carb na sabi nilang fatigue and flu-like symptoms may not be evident. Mas marami tayong kilala na hindi naka-experience nito, especially the ones who enrolled in our masterclass for health optimization, because we want you to do it safe, to do it right the first time around. Huwag nang mag-trial and error so that you will not go through all of these side effects. But alam nyo ba yung ano yung pinakamaganda? Even if merong mga na-experience na side effects yung mga tao, I'm so happy and proud na pinagpapatuloy pa rin nila. And it is because they saw themselves, even if there's some degree of fatigue, even if there's some degree of headache, pero hindi nadala ng inflammation, yung pananakit ng katawan, yung sakit ng sikmura, na dulot ng parang pang-inflamed na gastrointestinal system, those are all improving, and much more if you are monitoring your blood glucose, if you are monitoring your blood pressure, you can see that it's really improving. So, sobrang ganda ng effect sa kanila. So, how about number 3? Dangerous daw if naglo-low carb yung isang diabetic. Hindi daw ito maganda, nakakasama daw ito sa kanila. And what the science tells us, actually, yung nakikita natin dito, no other diet, itong nakalagay ha, no other diet has demonstrated more promising results for type 2 diabetes than one with very low carbohydrate diet. Walang kahit anong gamot, walang kahit anong dietary modification na changes, lifestyle change, kahit ganong exercise pa, walang makakatumbas sa epekto, sa benefits, sa drastic na improvement na nakikita ng mga taong naka-low carb. In fact, in the American Diabetes Association, meron silang pinablish na 9 kinds of diet that can be done for diabetics. At dalawa doon sa 9 na yon are actually very promising based on research. And eto ay low carb and very low carb. So 2 out of 9. And the previous recommendations na the other yun, yung mga Mediterranean na mahirap naman sundin, yung low-fat diet na alam natin hindi effective, and yung standard American diet, of course, na alam natin that will just keep on making us diabetic forever. So, number 4, ano yung myth number 4? Low carb is bad for heart health and will raise your cholesterol. This is actually not true in a sense na it's bad for heart health. But yes, it may raise your cholesterol, but know na kung tataas man yung cholesterol nyo, it is the good kind of cholesterol. It is the HDL and the large density LDL. But if it's a low density LDL and triglycerides and VLDL that are usually seen kapag naka-high carb yung isang tao, parating sinistimulate yung kanilang insulin na nag-lead into fat storing, yung cholesterol na hindi nagagamit, always just building up. So that's where the problem will actually occur. But with low carb, no evidence showing that it's bad for heart health. Kung merong mga 1 out of 10,000 na narinig ninyo na heart attack because nag-low carb, maybe they do it the wrong way and maybe their body is already inflamed na yung low carb. It's just a matter of coincidence. But anyhow, the heart attack, the inevitable collapse will really happen because of the decades long of wrong food intake. If we are to be objective about this, 99% siguro ng naha-heart attack, na nasa-stroke sa hospital are just eating the standard food intake, the standard Pinoy meal. And that standard is very high carb, but nobody blamed the high carb. And why is it na meron lang one time na narinig na nag-low carb and then karoon ng mild stroke, ng mild heart attack, i-blame agad sa low carb? Of course not. We've seen so many who are healing with the guidance of other low carb doctors and their cardiologists actually improving on their own with the right monitoring. And that is what we are trying to educate as many people as possible sa ating masterclass. We have masterclass for fatty liver, for heart diseases, for hypertension, for diabetes, so that kapag ginawa nyo ito, you'll know what to monitor, you'll know what to check, you understand kung ano yung nangyayari sa katawan ninyo. And definitely, low carb is not bad for heart health. In fact, it's good for heart health because our heart wants to use fatty acids as a source of energy. Ayaw niya ng glucose. And if we keep on feeding glucose, that is when the problem will actually happen. So myth number 5, low carb will make you break out. So definitely not true. So ngayon, although may makeup tayo, pero wala tayong breakout. Nagkakaroon lang tayo ng breakout kung parati tayo nagmamask at hindi natin napapalitan agad-agad. But generally, nung 5-6 years ago when I was still reviewing for my board exam, hindi namin maintindihan bakit sobra-sobra yung breakouts ko kahit wala naman. Hindi na kami lumalabas ng bahay. So we all know it's very clean. Kung ano-ano na lang cream yung nilalagay ko, and it's still always a lot of pimples, sobrang dami talaga. And when I checked also yung memories ko that time, kung ano yung pinagkakain ko. Lahat na lang ng mga piyaya, yung mga tira-tira, yung lahat ng mga pasalubong galing ng Bacolod na pinapadala pa ni Maming to Cebu, yun yung panay kong kinakain all day. And chocolates coming from papadala, from balikbayan boxes, puro sweets, puro carbs. And kahit hindi ako nagra-rice nun, ha, I'm not really fond of rice then. But yung sweets ko, hindi talaga makount. Sobra-sobra. And yes, it's the sugar, it's the fructose na yun yung nakaka-lead into hormonal changes and also inflammation when it comes to our skin. So skin and hair. So dapat when you're doing low carb the right way, you have better skin kahit hindi pa man perfect. Like ako, my skin is sobrang layo sa perfect. Yung normal na skin lang. But we know it's healthier than before. And also for the hair. So dapat yung hair natin, it's full, walang nalalagas. If nalalagas yung buhok nyo, you are not doing it the right way. I'm so sorry. And that's why we want to educate you to do it the right way so that safe kayo and you are really optimizing your health. So, number 6, hindi daw maganda sa gut natin, sa ating gastrointestinal system, yung low carb. Of course not. Yung may mga GERD, yung mga taong merong inflammatory diseases, even those that have merong mga ulcerative colitis, merong Crohn's disease, merong IBD, yung mga related to leaky gut, they are actually improving with low carb. Plus, when you do low carb, you are naturally going to do some fasting as well kasi naturally your body will become appetite corrected. Mawawalan ka ng ganang kumain, and it's actually a good sign, especially na when you eat, alam nyo, you are already nutritionally hungry and you will eat the healthy right food when you do eat. And yung mga kaibigan nating doktor mismo na usually nasa emergency room habang nagjo-duty, nagtuturok ng mga antacids, ng mga omeprazole, PPI, proton pump inhibitors to subside their NUD, non-ulcer dyspepsia. Yun yung most common cause of enrollment when it comes to sa ating mga emergency rooms, sa ating ER. So people go there because of non-specific na complaint sa abdomen. So there's always abdominal pain. And kung nakaranas kayo niyan, and if you are doing low carb right now, haven't you noticed na halos wala na kayong nakikitang ganong mga symptoms na noon halos araw-araw when you wake up in the morning, parating may kung anong sakit sa tiyan. But now, when you do low carb, at kung alam nyo, nakastick lang kayo sa ating safe list, you are doing better. JGC Rojo Food List, meron yung safe, caution, and danger list. And I hope you will also improve, because if you are not really improving well, then maybe you need a safe list. And yun naman yung tinuturo natin sa ating autoimmune disease masterclass, because not everything in the safe list is actually safe for everybody. Others will have more sensitivity kahit sa generally safe foods for others. So just message our admins if interested kayo to learn more and or help others, yung family members ninyo, kayo na yung magtuturo when you are enrolled in our LCF Masterclass. So myth number 7, low carb causes or worsens fatty liver disease. Kasi daw when we eat low carb, automatic parang high fat yung kinakain natin. Yes, that is true, but fatty liver disease is not just about intake of fats. It's the intake of fats together with too much carbohydrates. Or even if wala kang kinakaing taba, just like yung mga taong matagal nang may fatty liver at nag-a-avoid ng mga taba, ng mga karne, they still have worsening fatty liver over time. Why? Kahit wala nang kinakaing taba, kahit hindi na kumakain ng mga fried foods, hindi na nagmamantika sa kanilang pagkain. Bakit? Because carbohydrate actually leads to insulin spike, and yung insulin is a fat storing hormone. So the insulin will make your liver create more fats kahit walang taba, coming from fruits, coming from fructose, sugar, even from starch na nagiging glucose when you already consume more than what your body needs. Then those glucose, which is most likely is happening, those glucose that you are consuming, kahit pa kamote pa yan, kahit pa patatas lang yan na it's whole foods, that can still be converted into triglycerides. So from glucose, merong pathway towards fructose. From fructose, merong pathway towards triglycerides. And that triglycerides can build up within your liver, causing fatty liver disease, and that can lead into steatohepatitis, and then later on, it can be liver cirrhosis, and the worst, it can be liver cancer. And we hope wag kayong dumating sa mga point na yan, and if ever dumating na kayo sa point na yan, but as long as you are alive, there is hope. Your liver might need help, but you have other organs functioning that you also need to protect. So there is no other time to start low carb than the best time was yesterday. But since it's already too late, so the next best time is today, now, para for a better future sa atin. Hindi man natin alam kung ano yung mangyayari in the next days, but when it comes to our health, when it comes to the things that we can control, when it comes to our health, then we can do something about it. So next, myth number 8, you lose sleep on low carb diet. This is an initial part of the transition, but generally if you do low carb the right way, when you also do circadian fasting and you also apply our sleep hygiene na suggestions, people are sleeping very, very well and low carb. And sometimes you will notice na bakit 6 hours lang tulog ko parate, and you worry. But try to consider, kahit 6 hours lang yung tulog mo, do you feel unrested? Do you feel tired still? Because most often, even if it's just 6 hours, but it's a better sleep, it's a better kind of rest as compared to before na nakaka 8 hours ka nga, nakaka 9 hours ka nga, yet still, yung pakiramdam mo ay parang pagod na pagod ka pa rin. Because your body, while you're sleeping, is actually not resting, because you are consuming so much foods. And when you are consuming foods, the time that you are supposed to be resting, nagtatrabaho pa rin yung katawan nyo. Yung katawan nyo, nagtatrabaho pa rin by digesting all the foods that you eat. But when you do low carb and you pair it up with at least circadian fasting, minimum of 12 hours, anybody can do it. Even a child can do it. Hindi lang yung newborn, hindi lang yung toddler, kasi marami pa yung kakailanganin ng pagkain. But generally, even a young child, even a grown adult or teenager, kayang-kaya kahit 12 hours of circadian fasting. And it's the best way that you can do to improve not just your food intake, not just your metabolism, but your overall health, because low carb plus good sleep plus sunshine, it could be your best na recipe for a better health. So number 9, low carb causes gallbladder problems. This is one of the major myths. Kasi daw, kapag meron kang gallbladder stone, kapag meron kang gallbladder problems, dahil ito sa pagkakaroon ng fat sa inyong pagkain. This is actually very, very wrong, because gallbladder sludge, gallbladder stones, yung bile stasis, ay nangyayari when there is no mobility within the gallbladder. At bakit walang mobility sa gallbladder? There will be no mobility in the gallbladder if you are actually not eating fats. If you are not eating fats, yung gallbladder mo hindi mare-replenish, hindi magre-release ng bile. So yung nangyayari, yung bile dyan, nakastagnate lang. And if it's stagnant there, then yun na yung magkakaroon ng eventually bile acid stasis, and eventually magiging sludge, and it can lead into cholesterol, stones, or others, polyps together if you are eating foods that are highly inflammatory, which is mostly sugary foods and sobrang dami ng starch. And there is a direct correlation on a very low fat diet, yung devoid talaga of fats, there is a direct correlation that it's gonna lead into gallbladder stone formation. The research on this are already in the comments and in the description. You can look it up yourself, but it's one of those established ones na parang hindi pa na-update ng majority of our doctors, because pinalaki kami na nag-isip that gallbladder has cholesterol stone, and it's the consumption of cholesterol that will lead into gallbladder stone formation. And it's not the case. Yes, there are those that are having sister and my mother who've had periods of eating high carb and high fat. But if you do high fat without high carb, then it's not that dangerous when it comes to your gallbladder. But if meron na kayong existing gallbladder problems, then that's also a different case. You might need some surgery, like what my mother and my sister had. Nagpa-laparoscopic cholecystectomy na sila. So they no longer had gallbladder, and they can freely eat high-fat foods because diretso na yung bile coming from liver going to their intestines, and they've never been better. For more details about that, I think we've made a video already about gallbladder problems, and for in-depth knowledge, meron tayong masterclass for everything that relates to gallbladder problems and the management with low-carb nutrition and fasting. So myth number 10, low carb is not good for long-term weight management. So I think I beg to disagree, kasi si Maming ay nandito ngayon. Pupunta ka ba dito, Ming? You've been 65 kilos, no? Since I was young. Pero ngayon si Maming, inano ka na lang? 50? 49, 48? Ilang kilo mo na lang?
47.
47.
47.
47. Last time, akala ko 50 ka pa, 47. And do you feel like sobrang payat mo na?
Sabi ng iba.
Sabi ng iba, ang tinatanong ko, do you feel like you are sick
not
or
at all.
ano? Hindi, di ba? And then, yan yung physique mo when I saw your pictures when you were still dalaga. Di ba? You're really thin. Di ba? Hindi ka talaga lumalaki. Even nung lumaki ka, your extremities are really small. Yung chan mo lumalaki, no? And yan, arms lang. But yan, and we've kept the weight loss for how many years? 3, going 4.
Going for.
So, hindi ba ito sustainable? Of course not. It is sustainable. So, thank you, Maming. And hindi lang nag-iisa si Maming. Plus, many, many more. So, number 11, people just can't stay on low carb. It is just about proper mindset. And that is why we keep on doing these videos. And we have groups, the Life Without Rice and Low Carb Feasting and Fasting community, to support, because we understand the challenge is mostly in our brain. Yun talaga yung pinaka-challenge sa lahat. And that's why we are here. And I believe talaga that with, sabi nga ni Ernie Baron, with knowledge talaga comes power. And if we understand the science behind low carb, mas madaling manatili sa low carb because you know the consequences and you know how scientific it is and you know how good it is for you. So that's why kung hindi ka man makastay on low carb, maybe you didn't know how much low carb is really good for you, or you didn't know enough, or you didn't have the right mindset, or hindi nyo ito nagawa ng tama. And that's why we are here to help in case you need assistance. And lastly, low carb shortens life. However, this is not true because when we do low carb, we automatically also do intermittent fasting, and generally our mTOR formation, yung generation, yung pathway towards tumor formation, for inflammation, for cancer formation, it is lower down. And with low carb, we can see that people are already in their senior years, 70s, 80s, and they somewhat reversed back their strength, their vigor, 5, 10 years younger than before. Even with mommy, when did you last feel this energetic before? No? Kasi when you were, kailan ka ba? I think when you started menopause, parang feeling mo na matanda ka na, di ba? Parang tinanggap mo na matanda ka na. But now, you are doing exercise, nag-yoga, nagpo-pull-ups, nagja-jog si maming. And this morning, we just did some swimming. So, nag-swimming kami. And hindi si maming naiiwan yan. So, kayang-kaya. It doesn't shorten life at all. If not, it can even improve our health, and optimally, if we pair it up with other healthy habits, then we can maximize our lifespan. So, hindi natin alam kung until when tayo sa mundo, but definitely when we take care of the things that really matter when it comes to our health, then at least that factor na nakakadulot ng pag-shorten ng ating life, metabolic diseases, we are already eliminating that, and we can life more. So if you wish to know more, meron tayong LCF Masterclass by yours truly. You can also contact our admins, although medyo busy lang. You can leave a message there or join our groups, Life Without Rice and Low Carb Feasting and Fasting Community. Maraming salamat everyone. I hope you are able to learn something from today. And for those na mga doubt and having all of those concerns also and claims on low carb na hindi daw ito para sa kanila, it's a cause of concern, you can share to them this video so that they also can be educated. And on March 27, we will have a meet and greet in Manila, Metro Manila. For those interested, message our admins lang po. Maraming salamat everybody. Remember to always stay low carb so that we all stay safe. So again, before we end, these are the 12 myths and low carb na walang basihan when it comes to ating scientific na mga evidence. So hindi ito bad for athletes. The symptoms are mostly transient or when you do it the wrong way. Definitely, it is good for diabetes and it will not raise your bad cholesterol and it's not bad for your heart health. Hindi ka magkakaroon ng breakout. If not, it can even lead into clearer skin. So we also have good for your gastrointestinal system. Hindi siya nakakatakot. Myth number 7, huwag kayong maniwala. Fatty liver, in my experience, even the shortest, I think, was 3 weeks. In 3 weeks time, na-reverse yung kanyang liver enzymes, and in 2 months, the evidence of fatty liver in ultrasound ay nawala na rin. And sleep is better, especially if you pair it up with morning exercise. 8, 9, and gallbladder problems is actually much related to higher sugar intake, glucose intake, plus almost no fat intake. Number 10, long-term management, it's really sustainable. 11, mindset lang yan. And number 12, it is one of our best na weapons when it comes to longevity, which is also our 12th disease in our 21-day masterclass for health optimization. So maraming salamat everybody. I'll see you again in our next video. Remember to stay low carb so that we all stay safe.